Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video I'm going to talk to you about treatment that, quote, does not work. And I'm also going to include in this video conversation about the fact that the legal option does not work. So frequently we get calls from people, families, and it's either, as a general rule, it's either parents calling about adult child, or it may be a spouse calling about the other spouse, and they've typically been dealing with this for 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even longer. Okay, and by the time they get to us, they're pretty tired and they're pretty exhausted and they've lost hope. And so part of the process is, well, let's find out what happened, right? What have they been tried? And invariably, one of the things that we find out is that the person, the loved one, the patient, has been in and out of multiple treatment centers, 5 treatment centers, 10 treatment centers. And so when we talk about the option of treatment, you know, the client says, well, treatment doesn't work. Well, what does that mean when you tell me the treatment doesn't work? Well, you know, they're constantly relapsing. And what we tend to find is that the loved one didn't stay long enough in a clinically appropriate facility, right? They were there for 10 days, 2 weeks, a month. They left and they relapsed. Well, let me tell you something. You could put somebody into treatment who's got a long-standing behavioral health issue in treatment 50 times for 30 days, and I would be willing to bet most likely they're going to relapse, right? They're going to be med non-compliant, and the chaos continues. The goal here is to put somebody into treatment in a clinically appropriate facility and keep them there long enough, okay? What does that look like? Typically 3 to 6 months of treatment, residential and partial hospitalization for the most part, where they're living at the facility, right? Then they have to work a continuum of care. They live in a recovery residence. They take their meds. They get a sponsor. They go to meetings. They continue with outpatient care, okay? That's probably another 6 months. So we're talking about a year-long process. Why? Why do you need a whole year? Because we know from experience when somebody has been sick for that long, that it takes a year for them not only to experience recovery, but to develop the skill set necessary to maintain recovery for the rest of their life. If we want to get this right the first time and do it once and once only, I'm not telling you that you have to hire us for a year, although in some cases we're on the case for a year. We may not be actively working on the case, which means obviously we're not billing the client, you know, while we're not there. But once we are in a case, right, and we've filed out what's known as a notice of appearance with the court, telling the judge, we're the lawyers, absent the case being over or us asking to get out, we're in. So anytime there's an issue, the court's going to say, Mr. Astor, get yourself or get your associate into my courtroom. Let's discuss the issue that's before the court. So we're in. We're your lawyers, and we stay on typically for that period of time. Now, most Marchman Acts go 3 to 6 months, right? We do 90 days and 90 days. Guardianships may go on for a year. But the goal here is to get this right the first time, and we know it takes a year. So it takes time, okay? It just takes time. Now, why is the legal option important, right? Because this is a disease. Unlike any disease, if it's untreated, it will continue to get worse, and it may well destroy the host. What do I mean by that? I mean that it could well kill your loved one. And I know that that might be blunt for a lot of people watching this video. If you've watched any of my others, you know 2 things. 1, I'll always be honest with you to the point of, hopefully I don't offend you. I'm not trying to. All right, I'll always be honest with you. And 2, I come from a place of love, because I know what can happen when someone goes untreated. I do. And because we get those calls, you know, maybe we have a family that we spoke to, and 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later, we speak to them and find out they lost this person, okay? So I know what can happen, and I don't want it to happen to you because it will destroy your family. It's already doing that, but you know that, right? You know that's what's happening. So because it's a disease, part of the disease means they cannot make the decision to save themselves, right? That's why they go in and out of treatment, or they just won't go. They're probably telling you there's nothing wrong with them and you're the one that needs treatment, right? They're in denial. That's part of the disease. So if they cannot make the decision to save themselves, the question is, who's going to do it? Now, I've talked about the state stepping in, and that's a disaster. The question is, if you're a spouse, Are you willing to make the decision and the commitment to save them? If you're a parent, are you willing to make the decision and the commitment to save them, right? That's where the legal option comes in. It gives you the ability to step into their shoes and make the decision they can't make to save themselves. And we're going to go to court and have a judge basically say, you're going to treatment. You're going to treatment. And if you don't go into treatment, or if you don't follow the treatment protocol, guess what? We're going to have a different conversation, because I cannot allow this to continue. Your family has come to the court asking for help to save you, and I've decided to give it to them. And so if you're not going to follow the mandate of the court, because this is a court order, which means compliance is not optional, it's mandatory, then we have to have a different conversation. I got to talk about holding you in contempt. What does that look like? Well, it may mean like the court extends the order. There may be a higher level of care, or maybe I give you a weekend in the county jail to think about it. And I know that sounds harsh. I can tell you, with all the hundreds of cases we've handled, we've never had anybody yet that decided that the food is better in the county jail than it was in a treatment facility. But I guess there's a first time for everything. The point is, there's some accountability here, right? And it's not you, it's the judge, right? We're allowing the court to send them to treatment. Now, if it's a guardianship case, as opposed to a Marchman, then you as the new guardian may be making those decisions that your loved one no longer has the right to make. Or we're going to get a professional guardian and have the professional guardian make those decisions. Either way, somebody's going to make the decision your loved one can't make, okay? Which is to go into treatment in a clinically appropriate facility and stay there long enough and follow the treatment protocol. Because if that does not happen, then unfortunately this is going to continue. That is the nature that's the nature of the disease, and it is a disease. It's not a conscious choice, And I have to say that because there's still people who believe, well, it's a conscious choice. It's a conscious choice to be sick, to smoke marijuana, or to drink alcohol, or to have schizophrenia, or to have severe anxiety. It's a disease, and when you can appreciate that and accept it, then I think it hopefully changes your perspective. So I wanted to share that with you. I think it's an important conversation to have. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Perhaps you disagree with me. That's okay. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. As long as we're respectful to each other, you can disagree with me. Maybe you agree with me. I'm interested to hear what your experiences are. Maybe you tried treatment. Maybe you tried the legal option and you got a great result. I'd like to hear from you. Maybe you tried it and you got a terrible result. Okay, I'm happy to hear from you with that as well. I mean, let's have the conversation here. If there's another issue that's going on in your family, let me know, okay? Because if it's affecting your family, it's probably affecting somebody else's, and I'll make you a video, okay? So we get the information out there that's needed. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. If you want more of this content that I make for you every day, please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.